Welcome, everybody, to the Seattle Sports Union. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back with the Southwest Seahawk Rob English, the Savage Nathan Savage, and we are talking biggest game of the year again. Is that right? Are
Again,
we? How many biggest games have we had of the year?
well, hopefully after this one, we have even another biggest game of the year, right? So I think the last maybe I guess depends on the season, how the season goes, right? But we've had three biggest games of the years in a row, right? So
It feels like it, yeah. Even the Carolina game felt like a big game because they had just come off beating the Rams, I believe, a couple weeks before that. So there was no telling how much fight was in them. In fact, there was a lot of fight in them, but because I believe we were tied at halftime against the Panthers, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds about
before we
right.
pulled away. Well, this one's the biggest game. The fourth the fourth NFC Conference Championship game for the Seahawks. We're undefeated in NFC Championship games, by the way. So hopefully that carries on. But how are you guys feeling? It seems like every 10 years we have this little run in us.
Houston, I have a bad feeling about this mission.
Oh, what's going on? What do you feel
It's
bad about?
just so for me, I've been trying to remain even keeled. I've heard, now you've heard this from me from in the past. I don't want to get too high on the success that we're having, because when you let yourself get too high, the low is the lowest you can get. And I don't want to live through that. So I'm staying on an even keel. But what that allows for, at least in my mind, is for the thoughts, the possibilities of a failure, they creep in. And maybe I think maybe I'm just being a realist, right? I don't want to be too much of a homer about this game and about our team, but we are going up against a team for the third time. Both games were I mean, they had a lot of good things and a lot of bad things, and I just feel like if there's a game that could just go completely off the rails, it could be this one. I did not want to see the Rams. I was hoping that the Bears could have handled business, so yeah, I'm going into it with a very calm and quiet confidence.
We've seen this from years out of you. You do that. And then once the kickoff happens, my phone blows up with text messages with outrage left and right.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be outrageous one way or the other. It's either gonna be very much in the positive or very much in the negative. I'm gonna call it how I see it, no matter what. So even if I'm calling for someone's head to be chopped off in the second quarter, if we're 2 minutes from the end of the game and the win is clear, I'm gonna be saying other things, probably with lots of expletives.
Yeah, usually going for it on fourth on our side of the field. Yeah, that's what I usually get from you. I have to calm you down. Just punt it. It's fine, Rob. You can
Yeah, you
punt.
don't like that very much.
We have an
I've
all-pro
noticed.
punter, Rob.
This is
Does that
true.
mean nothing to you?
Hey, listen, he is. I mean, he put one, didn't he? Last week, he put one inside the 5, right? It was a perfect punt. Yeah, I mean, but you got at some point, Abe, you're gonna have to accept that the data speaks for itself. You got to start with being a little more open and accepting of these next gen stats. You got to do it. It's the way we're going.
Men are always better than computers. Well, at least until the point they make ones that take away our girlfriends. Yeah,
Well,
I will
listen,
go with
all of the
this.
movies say otherwise. The robots always kill us I guess. Well, you know what? Maybe you're right, because we always end up finding a way to win. But
Well, we know a guy who's on the side of the robots in pretty much any story. That would be Nathan. What fine stats do you have for us that we should know that might put either Rob in a more fearful mode or more calming mode?
Well, one thing the stats can do is they can help you out a little bit, Abe, in knowing that Mike McDonald goes for it on fourth down the least of any coach in the NFL.
I love it. That's a
Mike
man.
McDonald, even
He's a
in the times where
man.
he's bothering you by going for it, it's still the least of anyone in the league. So at least he sees things on your side. And I mean, talking about the Rams, I kind of wanted to play them almost last week because it just felt like it was inevitable. No matter what, this is going to come down to Seahawks Rams for the best team in the NFL. Super Bowl is wide open with the way it goes, and any team with all the the hype and the different setup and everything there can come out and win that. But I would say the best two teams roster wise left in the NFL, the two best teams kind of all year, it's felt like, are these two. And of course they're going to play again. Of course it's going to be for all the marbles. And yeah, I'm kind of on the side. Maybe it's that, you know, not running with Marshawn. Maybe it's that Mariners fan in me, but I always feel nervous about these games. And the negative, I let that kind of take over a little bit, because then when it's positive or negative, I won't be as let down. But something about the way Stafford passes against the zone, something about the way they looked the last time we played, even though we came out and won. I would say both these games during the regular season, the team that played better actually lost the game. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty nervous as well. I think the stats, Stafford against the Seahawks hasn't been sacked since like 2023, or he hasn't thrown a pick, and that kind of scares me a little bit there. So
Well,
yeah.
innovation versus innovation, you have the McDonald operating out of a nickel pretty much most of the game, but with hybridized players at almost every position, versus the offense of the Rams, which runs a 2-3 tight end set for a large majority of the game. It seems like the innovations clash, and yeah, like you said, the better team doesn't always seem to win, and it becomes in fact, what does Vegas have it, like 2.5, which is essentially the margin for
Yeah, even.
home field advantage.
Yeah, exactly. I would just call that as even, basically, as it can get,
How much can we make out of this innovation versus the players on the field is what I always try to ask people. Like, it's not like McDonald and McVay actually get out there on the field. The guys have to execute.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of the two things, right? Like if every player executed perfectly every single time, then you would really the game would be about, the coaches, right?
Mhm.
But you got to have players that actually go out there and do the job, and the dynamic there, guys that are, move laterally better, guys that are faster, that guys that are slower, that are bigger, stronger, whatever, it makes all the difference in the world. So, and the coaches have to, play for that as well. They have to, okay, what does this guy do well? What does he not do as well? And put him in the right position. So yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic. It makes all the difference for, in these division games, like we don't always, I think I don't remember what the numbers are, but it's a bit of a rarity to see division rivals in an NFC Championship game, so I mean, these games end up being better than the Super Bowl a lot of times, because these teams know each other so well, and it's all on the table right now. You're playing for basically, all the marbles, as far as the conference goes.
Yeah, think about two plays in this particular. The first one is the 60-yard field goal that Myers capable of kicking but didn't make. And then you think about the throw off the helmet of Jared Verse. The Rams stood around and Charbonnet jumped on the ball. I mean, those are players on the field. That's not anything.
Yeah, and I would even include right before that 60-yard field goal, I don't know if you remember, but the Rams punter punted it, basically landed on the 1-yard line, and somehow miraculously didn't go into the end zone, didn't come backwards. It almost like floated and then happened to go out of bounds right there at the one.
Died.
If
Yeah.
that like miracle never seen before, it feels like punt where it just happens to land perfectly as it's spinning.
No,
Doesn't
literally,
happen.
literally,
We're not
literally
kicking a
that.
60-yarder, right? We're going to be kicking much closer, and I think Myers makes it. So it does come down to that in these really well-coached, really even games, in my opinion.
No, Nate, on that punt, literally, as the ball was coming down, the hand of God actually came down into the stadium, caught it, and placed it down on the 1-yard line,
Yeah,
and then
just-
picked it up again, and then placed it down out of bounds. That's the only
Yeah.
explanation for that.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen there's no way. Give me a break.
Yeah. And it goes even, any other direction, and we have a shorter field goal, or it's a touchback and we have a much shorter
Right.
field goal, right? Like I think that's how good these coaches are. Bringing up the coaches again that you mentioned, it feels like this year with the firings and everything, it's really shifted to the new guard. McVay's the second longest tenured coach now in the whole NFL. These are two of the youngest coaches.
Who's the
I would
longest
guess Andy
left?
Reid, but I don't know. But even
Good
he
point.
didn't have the best year this year, right? So I'm not sure what's happened, but I always felt like these Pete Carrolls, Bill Belichick's, they were just going to shine through. And finally, now it feels like some of these new age guys have really taken over. And I would say, the guy leading that is probably McVay, and then McDonald's right there now with his success. And I do think there's something going on here where these young coaches have really figured out some of the X's and O's and some of this detail in a world of salary caps, and all the statistics are out, combines out now. I think some of these details are starting to matter a lot more.
Guys, wacky things happen in the Lumen Field, right? In the playoffs, especially. I mean, remember that we had I was here for that game, the Cam Chancellor interception against the
Yeah.
Panthers. You know, you got the Beastquake. I don't know if I'm willing to call it the Rashid Quake, but that's apparently a new one.
They're trying to do that. I don't know how I feel about it, but they're trying to.
Trying too
Yeah.
hard.
I
But
like
don't forget,
sorry, go.
in the playoffs, the year we went to the Super Bowl back in 06, similarly to Cam Chancellor's pick six, we had Marcus Trufant had a pick six against Washington that year when we beat them.
That's right.
I remember
and then
that
you had
Russ.
Jermaine Curse's walk-off.
Yeah.
And the 2-point conversion before where Russ just threw it way up high in the air and we somehow came down with it. Got the onside kick too. Dory Nelson was right there. That tight end in a moment of madness jumped in front of him and Bostic. Yeah. So
wait, are we forgetting the tip?
Yeah. Also Sherman.
Yeah. Of course the tip.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all like seminal moments in NFL history.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when I was a kid, guys, we didn't have much of that. The only thing anybody ever remembered the Seahawks for was Vinny Testaverde's helmet scoring a touchdown.
What was the other one? We're going to take the ball and we're going to score a touchdown.
We want the ball, we're going to score. Yeah, it was a bad one.
But I mean, it's just amazing in the last 20 years that we've had all these special moments. The unfortunate thing is our first year at this stadium, we went to the playoffs and I believe it was a wild card exit via the Rams, if I remember right.
Was that the year they played them? They played them 3 times that year as well. I mean, obviously they did.
That's right.
But
yeah.
I remember that was the greatest show on turf years, I think, for the Rams.
Yeah, and they beat us at the very end. It wasn't Warner, it was the guy after that.
Bolger?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
But still, they had all those receivers and whatnot.
Yeah.
I believe that was pretty much a walk-off touchdown on their part. I was so angry because I was the first playoff game I had ever been to in my life for Seahawks, or any NFL football, and to watch that nonsense happen, irritating, aggravating.
Was the Romo fumble on the easy field goal? Was that also in Seattle? I think it was in Seattle. Right? Yeah, that's another. I remember that one. That was my I'm a Seahawks fan moment. I think that was one of the first big games I was able to watch. That plus like the Beastquake, I think. That was a great one. It was I was like a hotel or somewhere after skiing, and we were jumping around after that.
That was me having I've never had one before, unless that was it. But that was my first time experiencing what I thought a heart attack might actually feel like.
My God, I'm glad you went that route. I thought you were going to go with the sexual experience.
No.
This is what sex must be like. Yeah.
That would be disappointing.
A 14-year-old Rob in his bedroom.
Yeah, did you think also that Romo was going to get in the end zone? I thought for sure. I thought, he has a gap, and then Babineau got him, right? But,
it was the whole thing, the whole thing, right? They got down there for a gimme field goal, so you're already recognizing that the game you're going to lose, right? So that you've already started to just prepare yourself for the fact that you had the game. They went down there, they're going to win it with this easy kick, and then you botch the hold, and then your eyebrows go way back here. And then he picks it up and runs. Oh, you're going to lose anyway. And then Babs gets it at the last second. It's just, up, down, and within 3 seconds, there you went up and down 3 or 4 different times. It was, I think I had to go to bed after that. That was crazy.
That was a hard one to process for sure. Because yes, I thought it was an easy field goal. And I'm trying to remember where I was at, but I do recall just having given up. Like, there's no way. It's not going to happen. It was like with that Vikings coldest game ever.
Blair Walsh, right? Hooked it. And then we decided to bring him on our team. And then he also missed a lot of field goals. So, yeah.
Bad news, Blair.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that hold, there's a video on YouTube where there's one particular video where it's from the stands when at the snap, you see how the crowd's going crazy, the snap happens, the fumble, and then the way that the fans are cheering, the sound in the stadium, the way it changes, and right before when Romo picks up and runs to his left, right before Babineau gets him, it's almost like the stadium went completely silent. Like it went from loud screaming to a low kind of murmur, and then right before he tackled him, I swear you could hear a pin drop until he hit the ground, and then it just exploded.
Yeah,
it gives me chills when I watch that video on YouTube.
I can't choose a favorite, guys.
For me, it'll always be the tip. I think that's until we
I
win
think it
another
has to be the
Super
tip
Bowl.
because it sent us to
Yeah.
the Super Bowl. It
Yeah.
probably has to be the tip. But the Beastquake also, I mean, like, that's one of the best. I mean, a tip is a tip. Tips happen all the time. The timing of it was what was so epic. But Marshawn Lynch's run against the Saints is arguably one of the best runs you've ever seen in NFL history. I mean,
Yeah.
there's argument for that.
Yeah.
And it was high stakes, and it was playoffs, and it was against the defending champions. There's so many layers to that one.
Yeah. I remember watching that and thinking they were fully going to come back. It seemed like Seahawks had the bigger lead, and then the Saints were really chipping away. Drew Brees was on fire, and Marshawn basically ended it in one play. And when it felt like, they were in big trouble there. So, yeah, that was crazy.
The tip was great. But I mean, Jermaine Kearse's walk-off, like, that couldn't have happened. There was no way you write a script where 5 interceptions later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That happens. You go to the Super Bowl.
And Kearse had played so poorly all game. Like, I mean, how would he be the guy to make the game-winning play after the ball was bouncing off his hands and into the hands of Green Bay defenders, multiple times in the game? I mean, if anything, I would expect him to be on the bench on that play, not catching the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
And
that's for me. It's just, I guess if they had beaten the Patriots that year, that would just be an all-time game. But something about the way that season ended, I think, dampens everything leading up to it. Sadly,
then I can see what you mean by the tip. But I'm glad you guys brought up the Babineau play, because that one was the most exciting up until that point in Seahawks history.
Yeah, it was crazy
for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't pick one. I can't pick one of any of these, to be honest. Like, they're all fantastic, and I'm just so happy that they've happened, before I'm like 90 years old. Yeah, they finally went to the Super Bowl. Get my heart medication,
And I think that's really hot. Like, if Sherm just slips a little bit, right? Or, if Babineau just takes the wrong read for a second. Like, some of these playoff games do, I think very often we've seen this year as well, outside, Seahawks being one of the blowouts. It can be a couple of these tiny little plays that get you to the Super Bowl, change you from a what has been to one of the best defenses of all time. And I'm just really hoping, on the level that the dark side and the Seahawks defense is, that they can make some of these type of plays this weekend, because I think they're up on the level of the best, defenses the Seahawks have ever put together. But they need to go and win these type of games to get the crown I think they deserve.
Well, like with children, the Seahawks they're my guys when everything goes great and well. But then I'm going to ask you guys to defend them, and they're your guys. Tell me about your dark side and not stopping Puka Nacua last game. What happened there?
I don't think you stop Puka Nacua, and maybe even more so. I almost said Sam Bradford. I don't know what I was thinking. Matt Stafford. It's you don't stop him. You hope to contain him, right? He's gonna get his. You just have to hopefully hold it down. He's gonna get something, right? Make tackles on the ball. Don't blow coverages and let the guy get too wide open, because if he gets wide open, he's going to take angles and probably get to the end zone. So, you just can't let him destroy you, but he will get his catches. I don't know what you can really do about it. I'm always going to give Nacua I'm going to assume he's going to have 5 or 6 catches for probably anywhere between 60 and 80 yards. And you hope that's all that he does, but he's going to get that.
Yeah, for me, he's one of the guys just a really bad matchup for the Seahawks. I also know McDonald said that game he made a few mistakes, made things too complicated where the players couldn't really hear with the crowd noise. But for me, the weakness this year of Witherspoon has been a little bit in coverage. He's been worse in coverage. I mean, he's been unreal, all pro, but he was worse in coverage than both Woolen and Job this year. And then Woolen, who's the best in coverage this year, his biggest weakness is those physical players that force him to tackle. And I think it's such a bad matchup for the Seahawks, because you could put Woolen on him, but then Puka will get his yards after the catch. And then you could put Witherspoon on him. But for Puka, he just needs an inch of space, and he'll make those contested catches. So I agree exactly what you're saying, Rob, where if the game gets to that level where Puka's for 200 yards, that's a big problem. But if we can hold him to 100, I think, holding to 100 sounds terrible, but I would call that a win for the Seahawks.
Why not do like the old Jordan rules, where you double team him, you bully him, and force the rest of the team to beat you.
I don't know that that works against the Rams because their other weapons are really good. I mean, the ex-Seahawk Colby Parkinson is really good. I don't know that you really have the option of double teaming, at least not very often. Devontae Adams, I mean, there's just so much else out there, so many other options. It's not like they have just one marquee player on the offense and then a bunch of, jabronis who only make plays when they happen to be wide open. Any one of those guys in that offense can make plays. So I think you have to just you have to scheme well and hope your players execute all but perfectly. I think it's the only way you beat the Rams.
Yeah. And from what I've heard, that's the problem with McVay, right? And the offense he designs is a lot of teams have been shading Puka's way. And what does that mean? Okay, Devontae Adams leads the league in touchdowns until he gets injured. And then from what I've heard, their running game is really, really intricate and so hard to defend that you just can't really take those guys out of the box. When you're defending the runner, they're just going to gash you all game long. So I just think that's why we're playing this team in the NFC Championship game is their offense has caused enough question marks in the NFL in a defensive year where they led the league on the offensive side of the ball. They were number one, and hopefully our defense can play better. But I don't think that this versus last week is another reason I'm so nervous because I think we can really contain Shanahan and his offense. But McVay has seemed to all year long be the one team, when we're healthy, where they can kind of march up and down the field against us.
Yeah, I wonder too with the multiple tight end sets. Seahawks play light, and if you go heavy against them, maybe that's the key. And you got to also have like the multiple receivers, like you said, Rob. I mean, I forgot about Devontae Adams. Wasn't there a game he wasn't available against us?
The second game, yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
he's the one who gashed us kind of in the first game when they didn't have a lot of yards, but he was getting them touchdowns on beating us pretty badly on these one-on-ones in the end zone where we're just stretched too thin to try to shade both Puka and Devontae Adams.
Man, okay. Well, what do you guys think on the other side of the field? The assumption by the national media is that Darnold's going to throw 18 interceptions, and that's what he is. Never mind all the big games he's played up to this point. He still can't win the big one. Like I said last week, he could win the Super Bowl, and he still will be called a letdown, won't he?
Go for it, Rob.
I mean, I think once you win it, the conversation kind of has to shift. If not, you gotta, if you win it, what more can anyone say? Now you should be able to stop the conversation by getting as far as you've gotten. Now, even an NFC Championship berth, even an NFC Championship win and a Super Bowl berth, but if you lose at any time, the door stays open, right? And especially for someone who's the conversation's already being had. So I try not to get too deep into it when it comes to that. I mean, the players, these guys in the league, they're all good. They're all great. But there can only one person can win. Only one team can win. And the one that loses or all the ones that lose doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't as good as they are. But only one team can win. That's how I don't know. I stay out of that one.
Yeah, for me too, it's this is a game where we know what's going on. The league MVP is on the other team. Our quarterback's just not as good as that quarterback, but they scored 41 points last week. I don't think the Rams scored that in a decent amount of time this season. And a big part of that for me and part of what I want to even highlight more about this offense is I think it's all going to start with the running game and Kenneth Walker this week. And then just like last week, are we really upset Darnold only threw for 143 yards, 12 completions because we scored 41 points? It just doesn't matter. And I think it's going to start with the running game. I assume the Rams are going to play us closer, though, where we see Darnold have to make or break this team is taking us down the field like he did in overtime to win it, right? Or bringing whatever, that little bit of edge where they just can't stack the box every time and he can hit JSN a couple deep times, whatever. I don't think, even though he is a quarterback, I don't think Darnold will be front and center in this game. I think so much of it is going to be our just on fire offensive line and then our coming off the best game of the year running back.
You know what? I think it's funny that we're having this conversation right now because literally just this morning I was having this conversation with myself in preparation for the show. And I'll try to.
Did you get in an argument with yourself?
Yeah, I did. I was
literally. Rob,
I think I was even talking out loud to myself and answering myself. So a little bit of psychotic episode there, but the moral of the story is to Nate's point. The conversation I was having with myself was who is the X factor this weekend, tomorrow, and I think the normal way to go as Nate said, is going to be is how well Kenneth Walker can run the ball, right? And when it's a big deal now, especially because Zach Charbonnet's out. Do we have the ability to run the ball as well as we have been without that other guy who I think without him, right, we wouldn't have nearly as much success as we had recently running the football.
Charbonnet is the other guy, right?
Charbonnet, yeah. So, can Halani come in there and be that same spell back for Kenneth Walker? Who knows? We hope so, right? But I think the actual X factor in this game is Sam Darnold. I think this game goes the way Sam, and more than just a typical conversation about as long as he doesn't turn the ball over. I think that this needs to be, I'm looking at this like a quarterback duel. And this may be an unpopular opinion because it's Sam Darnold, but I think if Sam Darnold goes out there, he made some clutch plays recently, not just the 49er game last week, but the week before, the game before. Like, he's been playing very well. And I think that if he is on time, if he steps up in the pocket, if he runs when he has an opportunity, doesn't take sacks, doesn't need to be taken, I think the quarterback play in this game is going to be the real turning point for the Seahawk team. And that's what I'm sitting on.
You know, one thing that occurs to me is earlier in the season, they said the Seahawks couldn't run, they being the pundits, right? But I think what happened early in the season is they were bringing up their DBs into the box.
They faced the most stacked boxes in the NFL at the start of the season.
And then with the success of JSN, these last two games that I went to, they were in too high safety the entire time, both the Niners and the Rams. And it just seems like the running game started working when that started happening.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what the Rams do.
Yeah. No, you're right on it. I think for everyone's been saying about the second half of the season on, after JSN and Darnold went on the tear to start the year, the running game has not been facing stacked boxes anymore. For me, the biggest worry actually with the Charbonnet injury is actually in the passing game. Charbonnet is one of the best pass blockers in the NFL.
And Walker's terrible.
Yeah. And he's gotten a little bit. Is. No, that's his biggest weakness. That's another reason other than the injuries, he hasn't been on the field as much, and Charbonnet's getting playing time. And I think that's another underrated part of this game that, Rob, you brought up is I'm a little nervous if Darnold has to make more plays, because there's a good chance he's going to face the type of pressure he doesn't like to see a lot more often now that Walker will be back there. And I get a little more nervous as this game becomes a passing game for the Seahawks, where I do think they actually, I would say from looking at the year, I think Walker's actually run the ball better than Charbonnet. I think we'll get probably better carries from a running back position when we're handing the ball off. I'm worried about those coverage snaps, passing the ball. And I hope it doesn't turn into a quarterback versus quarterback game, because I just think they have the best one this year on the other side of the ball. And Darnold, for me, has struggled especially against the Rams in that 4-interception game, when a lot more was on his shoulders.
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, the quarterback duel thing shouldn't suggest that Sam Darnold may be on the same level as Matt Stafford, not even close. But who can play? Who could be the best man on the day? Right? Who can be better on the day? That's what matters. If Sam Darnold goes out there and throws for 420 yards and Stafford only throws for 180, doesn't mean that Darnold's better than Stafford, obviously, right? But who is better on the day, and who made the plays on the day? So and that's what I'm thinking. It's really going to come down to how good can Sam Darnold be on the day, and who can, which one can he make the plays when they have to be made? Can you hit Cooper Kupp on the sideline for a toe tap and drop it right in the bucket over the top of that sinking defender in front of that safety or corner like that? Can you hit those balls for 4 quarters? And Sam Darnold has done that well recently, and he needs to do it even better and continue it tomorrow evening.
Yeah,
man, I think my key is the offensive line. I know Zabel's not the PFF model or darling, but he and Sundell seem to have this psychic connection that really goes well. And I've decided to consign myself to Anthony Bradford. He's going to make a great play, and then he's going to make a dumb play, and he'll never be just average. Which we're just going to have to accept. And with Charles Cross back, gotta think, like, if we can see what they've done the last 4 weeks and duplicate that tomorrow, it's got to be nothing but good things for us.
Yeah. And I do want to say that Gray Zabel, Pro Football Focus, kind of figured it out because I think he was the highest graded player, not just O-line or not just offense in the whole NFL a couple weeks ago or last
Was
week.
he? Okay, because earlier in the
so
season he was not.
yeah,
They were
no, I
not in love with
remember
him.
that. And but yeah, he's a PFF darling now a little bit. And I think
Okay.
him and Bradford actually, at least in the running game, have just been on another planet.
Yeah.
Like some of what they're doing down the field, some of the holes are opening up. Yes, for Bradford, like you said, he might have a good game, but it feels like every game he gets one play where, you see the video of it over and over and you think that guy should be back home on the couch. But as a whole, it seems like he's been just killing it, especially in the running game. Pass blocking, it's a little more tough for him. But yeah, they're moving guys around. They're up the field, 20 yards down the field, making plays. Just some of the best O-line play I've seen. And definitely in these jerseys, I'd say maybe the best O-line play I've seen.
At the beginning of the season, we thought Oluwatimi and Sundell were, a flip of a coin. But I swear the team is different when Sundell's in there at center. Anybody worried about Robbie Oots not being in?
So he's listed as questionable.
Okay.
Have they ruled him out? Because I see him listed as questionable.
Internet says questionable.
Yeah. So isn't the rule like questionable really means probable and probable means for sure?
Unless it's Belichick, in which case you can never trust
Yeah, I never really know. I think if he's in there, that definitely helps us. I don't know. I know obviously in run blocking he's great, but Abe, you're the pass blocking guy. Robbie Outs in pass blocking.
They actually don't use him much for pass blocking, but yeah, he's decent. But I mean, like, I wonder who goes in there. Is it Russell that becomes the tight end, or I'm sorry, the tight end that becomes the fullback? Does anybody know who the backup?
I mean, from what I've
is?
seen, when he's out, they just don't really use that fullback as often.
Okay.
Part of me, like, because we haven't called his name too much this year, but I just remember coming in when Kubiak was being brought up, and then we drafted Oots. That's a big part of what Kubiak likes to do, and I'd assume that's a big part of our success is him being back. But yeah, at least you just don't watch the fullback that much, right? So at least his direct impact, I don't know, but I would assume it's actually pretty high just by what Shanahan likes to do in the running game and how important a fullback is for that.
Hey,
for Kubiak, but
we're talking about the production. We're talking about the production of the tight ends for the Rams. Where have our tight ends been the last couple of weeks?
Is the absence of the production there a sign of them just is a problem, or have we just not needed him? Have the players just not been there? I mean, it's almost like we're not going to worry about it as long as we keep putting up 41 points, right?
No, we could have put up 61 points if we used our tight ends.
Right, yeah. I don't think anybody's been hurt. There's nobody on the list from the tight end position. So maybe it just hasn't been there. The game plan could be different from week to week.
I want to say Elijah Roy is back.
Yeah,
he was
this game is coming back. Yeah,
he's supposed to be back, but he could be a healthy scratch though. So we have to figure out whether or not he's just part of the game plan. What kind of package Kubiak and McDonald are going to put together for this game. I think he was technically able to play this past week, but he didn't play. So yeah, he could end up being. I want to see him play. I think early in this year when he was out there, he was effective at the very least, and in some cases very good. So I was disappointed when he went down to injury. Is he ready to go out there in a game high stakes like this though? I think that's the question.
Yeah, and for me too, like I think maybe it's the first time I've really seen it, the first time I paid attention. Last game, they had a highlight where it was just how insane blocking, insane of a job the tight ends were doing blocking. And Tom Brady was there and he's like, I mean, just unreal what those guys are doing, how physical they've been, and just showing all the holes that they were creating. So for me, I think it's probably a little more there's the product where we've been able to win games running the ball and not been too challenged where we have to open it up late in the game and pass it. And I think those tight ends, in my opinion, have been some of the best in the NFL and just unreal physical blocking on another level, opening up these holes. They were talking about how well we've done, shutting down the edges and how difficult it is to block for the runs outside and runs to the edges. And the tight ends have been killing it with that. So I would actually say for me, if Arroyo is like a healthy scratch, just because of how well it's Barner and I can't remember the other guy, but they showed him just individually and had a highlight reel just for tight end blocking. against the Niners because of how well they're doing. And I just, again, when we brought Kubiak in, we had some of these conversations about maybe we'll see some actual run blocking. And I think it's like taken over the whole team. And we're just different beasts when it comes to run blocking right now.
It's almost like we've taken a page out of the Fenner's book. You know, the reason that they have been so good with, you know, short plays or run plays that go long over the last few years is because you got guys like Kittle and Juszczyk who get downfield and make blocks. And I think
Yeah.
that's what we're doing now. You got AJ Barner, and you got his name is escaping me right now too, Nate. The guy he caught the 2-point conversion. What's his
I
name?
know, right? Yeah, and they
That
highlighted
guy.
him in the game. Yeah,
Right.
They showed him just, you know, making some crazy blocks. But yeah, I don't know why it's blanking with me too.
But yeah, you know, these guys are getting downfield and you know, and hitting guys. You know, you're winning on your first block and then go getting another one. You know, and that's really what makes great, you know, great run games. So yeah, if we can continue doing that, yeah, there's no reason to suggest that we can't uh, continue doing what we're doing here. And you know, and you have to, at this point, you have to want it like no other. You have to want it. If you don't want it right now, then forget about it. You know.
Yeah, and for me too, right away, he had a good game catching the ball. But Cooper Kupp, you have to mention right away. I guess some of the guys have been
Cooper Kupp.
saying Cooper Kupp's been basically running a class for all the outside players, and it's Cooper Kupp's
Nice.
blocking class. He's just teaching them all the tricks of the trade, where he's, you know, was probably the best in the NFL and set a standard that I think the Rams still uphold now with guys like Puka. But it just feels good for that to be on our team, like you're saying, with the Rams, with the Niners. It wouldn't just be the first level. It'd be the second. It'd be third level. We'd have guys racing down the field to set up the next block. And I think that's why you bring Kubiak in, because he is from that school of run blocking. And I think for me, that's coaching combined with the players you bring in to properly execute your coaching. And it's just fun to see.
Right on. So number 81, tight end out of Drake University, Eric Saubert.
Eric Saubert, that's the name.
Yes. All right. So we got a limited time left here, and Brian the Soul Man Solak likes to do a segment called Soul Searching with the Soul Man, but he's not here, so I'm gonna try my best to carry that on. So what I'd like, Nate, what I'd like, Rob, is for you guys to do a little soul searching and go back, get in the Wayback Machine, all the way back to August, when you guys were bemoaning the loss of Geno Smith. Now you can soul search and tell the audience out there why you were wrong.
Well, to be fair, I don't know that I was, as you said, bemoaning that change, Abe. I was not on team get rid of Geno. I will admit that. But when the change happened, I considered the change to be a lateral move from Geno to Sam Darnold. Now there, I would say that I have been wrong over the last 19 weeks now, or or so. But hell with it. Yeah, I was wrong.
Okay, now, Rob, I will let you tell everybody what you were right about, because you, if I remember right, actually predicted the most wins of any of us on the season.
I really thought that this team had a chance to really be good. I mean, again, I was hanging my hat on the 10 wins last year. Like, I mean, we won 10 games, and everything to me looked like upward trajectory. I didn't see any reason, maybe sans for the move at quarterback, why we would not be able to improve upon that. I thought, okay, you change your quarterback. I mean, the quarterback is like the most important position on the field. Making a change there, maybe you're going to see, a bit of a drop, or maybe if at the very least you stay flat over the next year. So I'd say, okay, maybe we win 10, 11 games, but I thought we could win 12 games. We could win 2 more games this year than we did the last year. And yeah, in Sam Darnold, he has shown that he can go out there and play football. He quarterbacked a great Minnesota team 2 years ago. And I had total confidence in him. And
people laughed at you. People laughed.
Yeah. You guys see what you guys do. See how you treat me.
All right. What were you right about and what were you wrong about, Nathan, on this year?
Yeah, I mean, I was about as harsh as it could get on their offseason moves and the team, and I was about as wrong as it can get on their offseason teams and their moves. But I mean, I think even when you look at the end of the season stats, maybe had better years than Darnold did this year, right? Darnold led the NFL in interceptions. We lost DK. I was super pissed about losing DK, but I think one thing I really underestimated, I would say the thing I was the most wrong about, was underestimating how important coaching is and how important the players that you're coaching is towards bringing a locker room together, and how valuable it can be when we're talking about all the time, right? Last week, on one of the big sacks by Williams, he came over to Zabel. Zabel told him, hey, they're doing the center shifting over to you. You should just bull rush. That's how you'll break through and get the sack. He goes and says thank you to the rookie. He's like, man, I had to thank a rookie, but I did what he told me, right? Imagine a world where an all-pro 11-year veteran is listening to a rookie, and that decision leads to a major sack that helps win the game. And I think losing guys like Gino and DK are just going to be a net positive almost always because of what they do to a locker room. And from everything I've heard, they're just really not helping your camaraderie as a team. They're blaming a lot of other guys. They're causing a lot of issues, a lot of flags on the field. And I think the guys that we brought in really helped this camaraderie as a team. We saw it with the 4 interception game with Darnold, where Ernest Jones immediately, used some very choice words I can't use now to shut that up immediately because of, I'm sure, the character he brings into the locker room and who he is as a player and as a locker room member. And I just can't talk about enough how wrong I was about that's just so important to a team. And
Now,
I think this is the best part of the team. Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed, do you want to gloat?
I mean, not really, because
Come on, you can gloat.
I mean, I kept him on my fantasy team way too long because he was, he's been, unreal on special teams, but I thought he would be even producing more as a wide receiver. I do just think maybe the guy I was wrong the most about was Schneider as well, where the guy in the middle of the Shaheed trade, the guy in the middle of bringing in Cooper Kupp, bringing in Darnold, bringing in some of these guys is Schneider. And man, I was so wrong about him. I think I thought a lot of that was Pete Carroll, and it seems like a lot of that is Schneider, or right now
Okay,
all of it.
Nathan's
Schneider,
being
so.
modest. Nathan's
No,
being
not at
modest
all.
and
I
humble.
feel this way. Like I couldn't have been more wrong, and it's nice to be wrong in the right way. Where now we have a great GM. We have in my opinion, the best roster in the NFL. One of the best locker rooms in the NFL. The guys always say it's 11 men on the field, but it feels like 13 because we're on such a high level of play. And I think guys like Woolen, the way he's playing now, guys like
okay, there's another one. Okay, so there's 2 guys that you were right about. You said stick with Woolen for the full season, and you said Shaheed. You were talking about him a month before the trade deadline.
Yeah, but I think for me, it's just
Rob, he's not going to take the credit, is he?
No, I just want to hang the hat on, though. They can bring in almost anyone, it feels like. And because of Schneider and because of McDonald and the culture that they built, right? We were complaining about him taking down, and I don't even know if he did it or not, but taking down some of the Super Bowl winning memorabilia or those other things, right? There was a lot of hate getting thrown around by myself included. And I couldn't have been more wrong, because this is what I want to see on a football field. Win or lose tomorrow, this is my favorite type of team to watch. This is my favorite part of what the salary cap in the NFL causes teams to have to do to try to win in this sport. And I just, I'm happy I'm wrong, because this is just a fun and great team to watch.
Rob, he refuses to brag, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I get it. I understand. Being a humble winner is good. I get that. But no, I think a lot of what Nate's talking about is, I mean, you're talking about hindsight and recency bias, right? Like it's I was very disappointed in a lot of the narrative I was hearing around. I mean, and I'll go back even to Pete Carroll, but certainly John Schneider. All of a sudden these guys who brought this team to its greatest era in its franchise history, all of a sudden they don't know what they're doing anymore because he had a couple down years. Like I vehemently disagreed with that. And now here we are again, and now people want to sing their praises again. It's like, no, right? Like I just, it gets frustrating for me. I'm like, no, John Schneider is great. He's already shown you that he's great. You don't win them all every year. You can't be great all the time. Then sometimes you got to take a step back. You got to retool. You bring it back again. In the from the coaching hirings to the personnel on the field, they've done what they needed to do to get us back to here we are again playing for a trip to the Super Bowl, and who knows what happens after that. So that is definitely, you know, one point, like I said, the point that Nate brought up with John Schneider. I never lost faith in John Schneider. I didn't really lose faith in Pete Carroll. You know, but you know, obviously, again, what have you done for me lately? Pete went to I want to say Oakland, went to Vegas and stunk it up for the year. And Mike McDonald, you know, he's done nothing but win for us basically. And I will also say the Rashid Shaheed. I feel like Rashid Shaheed is the Percy Harvin that never happened, right?
Perfect. Yep.
Right.
He's the
Exactly.
Harvin that never
Yep.
happened. You know, I mean,
Yep.
all Harvin ever did for us was
Very true.
one or two plays. You know, he had a couple of jet sweeps, and then he had the return in the Super Bowl. That's all he really did for it. Like 3 plays I can remember total. Shaheed has far exceeded that already, and so we finally got the return on the Percy Harvin trade.
Yeah. And for me, he's doing it without punching guys in the locker room too, right? From
And
everything
doing
we've
it without
heard,
having that.
he's
Yeah,
not
bad
complaining
attitude.
about the catches he's getting. He's just going out there and winning us games. Like just the right guys in the locker room. I can't say that enough is what it feels like with this team.
Well, we're at the end of our show here. Let's go ahead and do shout outs for this week. Who do you got?
So I got to switch up. I wore some Mariners gear today just because Felix is maybe the guy that got me the most to start being a big Seattle fan of the
King
sports there.
Felix.
And just what he's done, you know, this year, just shooting up. It looks like he's on the track now for the Hall of Fame, all the way up to 50%. Only needs, I think he went up like 35 or something, only needs 25% more in the next 7-8 years to be in the Hall of Fame. And yeah, just have a signature from him being in the bullpen and maybe his last home game, and just can't say enough positives about Felix. And another guy, I think that just embodies the Seattle spirit that I'm feeling from the Seahawks team. And so, yeah, just shout out Felix Hernandez.
Awesome. I'll go next. This one's for Brian the Soulman Solak. I wish I could remember the name of his friend, but his friend's not doing very well. She has cancer, but she's super excited for the game next week. So on behalf of her and everyone else who is struggling in their life and can use a little bit of joy and fun in tomorrow's football game, shout out to all of you. Rob.
I kind of sticking in that same avenue. I'm gonna send my shout out to my grandmother, Valerie Strickland, over there in Silverdale, Washington. She is not doing too good. They have her in the hospital, and at 80, my grandpa turned 92, so she's got to be 88 or 89. And yeah, it's looking like we might be coming to the end of the road there for old Grandma Val. So I would like to send my shout out to her, and you know, I wish her you know, the best in, you know, in however much longer we have her here. And
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody out there for watching us here on YouTube and listening to us on Spotify. On behalf of the Southwest Seahawk Rob English, Savage Nathan Savage, and myself, Abraham DeWeese, we'll see you guys next time.
go Hawks.
Yeah, go
There
Hawks.
it is. There it is.